is Nathan.
And this is Daniel.
And you're listening to a Kid Nation podcast.
That name may not be the
final name.
Yeah, the final name.
It's not going to be the final name. I'm just going to let you in on a secret here. We have a few others, but they are too long to mention in the first podcast because this was an unorganized thing.
The name is in development.
The name is very much in development. Okay. All right.
In case you couldn't tell by the name, the very bland, generic name, this is a podcast about the hit CBS reality game show thing from 2007.
It's an accurate description. It is a thing
called Kid Nation, a show where 40 children aged between 8 to 15 were thrown into the middle of the desert and essentially forced to live and build a city.
Yep, build a city. Child labor laws were pretty much not a thing.
Well,
so
they were a thing, which is why there wasn't a season 2 of Kid Nation.
I'm going to tell you right now, this show is not on the air as of now because it very much
only lasted one season.
It only lasted one season.
One season, and you can't find it anywhere else. You can find it on YouTube, which is where we're watching it.
Indeed.
But it's not on DVD.
Nope.
It's not on streaming anywhere.
They wanted to get rid of the evidence. Fortunately, the internet has helped us out here.
Some lucky person probably DVR'd it back in 2007 and kept it and uploaded it. And so,
for their own personal reasons.
Believe me, if there was a legal way to watch this, we would be watching it.
Oh, definitely.
Because
we are law-abiding citizens.
Honestly, I would want this show to come back.
Yeah.
It's fun. And it would be fun if they brought it back like they do with Survivor, change up the location. So the first season they were in
there's a different ghost town.
A ghost town. But then the next season, they throw them on an island. Go full on Lord of the Flies or whatever.
That sounds even more problematic, but we'll get to that.
Get them out of the country so labor laws aren't.
Export them to Cuba. It's their problem now. We'll pay you a certain amount of money, and you can just produce the show for us.
One thing I wanted to ask you is, when did you discover Kid Nation?
When did I discover it? Yeah. I discovered it when it was first on.
But you didn't watch all of it, right?
I distinctly remember watching it with my mother at my uncle's house when it was premiering and being very upset at one of the characters, and I think it was Mike.
Yeah.
I think that stayed with me all these years. Since 2007. I was 11 years old. I could have been one of those kids.
I watched this when it came out all the way through. Every single week that it was on. And I distinctly remember at the time hating Greg, despising Greg.
I think I did. I think I was more harsh on Greg too.
But in hindsight, like I thought Mike was doing a good job when I was watching this, when I was like
16,
17, however old I was when it came out. But now, in hindsight, I don't like Greg, but I definitely don't like Mike as much anymore.
Yeah,
Mike. I'm still not Team Greg, but Mike.
Well, I would like to say that I'm not Team Greg. I'm Team Greg sympathetic. But they're both kind of terrorists.
Yeah. First episode is titled. I'm trying to be a leader here, and it opens up.
Is that actually what it's titled?
That's the title of the first episode.
Oh God!
And I believe that's a quote from Mike.
Oh God!
And we will get to Mike in a moment.
As you can tell, these kids were definitely prepared for this.
It begins with a shot of a lonely school bus.
Yes, we open up on a school bus on a dusty road,
driving through the desert as if it's like a prison bus.
Where are they? We don't know.
Well, they're going to a place called Bonanza City.
Well, we if we're a kid, we don't know yet.
The kids don't know where they're going, but we know, thanks to Jonathan, the host.
All of a sudden they stop and, this isn't Rockford Elementary anymore. This is, I don't know where we are.
So Bonanza City is this town. It's a real town in New Mexico. And
just like Roswell.
It really was a mining town, which was abandoned at one point. And then it was rediscovered and it was used as a filming location for Western movies. So all the buildings that the kids are going to be staying in are not original buildings. They're replacements from the original.
Which makes sense because everything on this show is so authentic.
Yes, it's very authentic.
From the time that they start making mac and cheese to when they discovered the note from the guy living in Bonanza City in 1885.
Oh, and we'll get to that. One of the first kids that we're actually introduced to is Jimmy, who's 8.5. He's the youngest one. I think he's the first one who's actually named on screen.
Is he?
I think
in the
so.
bus. In the bus,
because they're going around the buses, and Jimmy thinks he will die.
Yeah.
In Bonanza City.
I mean, that's not that far from the truth.
No.
Let's just say.
And to get an idea of Jimmy, he's sort of like a little. He's really small, right? He's small.
He looks a little bit like the kid from The Shining.
He's small. He's chubby. He has really long mid 2000s sort of hair that kids had at that time.
Yep.
He's a really adorable kid, but he's
an all-American guy.
He thinks he's been sent to die, essentially.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder if Jimmy actually gave his consent to be on this show, or if it was just his parents being like, you know what, we need the money. You're going to do this.
We need that $20,000.
We need that $20,000.
Literally. Now, another kid we meet on the bus is Jared. And how do I describe Jared?
Oh, God.
Imagine I would say maybe like a baby Seinfeld.
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Like a very neurotic Jewish kid. He's very neurotic, right?
He is neurotic. Is he Jewish?
I'm pretty sure he's Jewish. He has to be Jewish.
How do you know?
He looks Jewish. I mean, he seems really Jewish.
Someone look Jewish?
He sounds like he's sort of from somewhere on the East Coast. Jared says in the bus that he's afraid he will have to eat his leg, literally. And so that I think actually is our first literally drop.
Yeah.
For the show.
A lot of literally.
Literally is a big tagline in the show. Do you have anything else to say about the bus? About the bus drive?
Not really, except for must have been a shitty bus ride.
Yeah. The bus drive is mainly just to sort of give us a brief glimpse of all the children.
Makes me wonder what antics Greg was doing before
in the back of
the show was even
Oh. Yeah, I wonder how they corralled them all. I'm assuming they probably went to like a hotel somewhere near New Mexico near Santa Fe and just got bussed over.
Possibly. And then did they bring them in? How did the town leaders get there?
So the town council. So 4 of the kids didn't arrive on the bus.
Who represent them by age and geography.
Yeah. The town council. So the bus stops in the middle of the desert. They're out in the middle of nowhere, supposedly. And so the town council then arrives and they get shuttled in a helicopter.
Yeah.
And the helicopter, as it's landing, kicks up all this dust that flies into the faces of all the other children.
And thus we have our town elites.
And
as humble as any town elite could be.
And the 4 of them are Mike, who was a former Boy Scout, who always is wearing a cowboy hat.
Who is always wearing a cowboy hat or an obnoxious bandana.
Yes. Then there's Taylor, who is a beauty queen.
She's a beauty queen.
And her goal in life is to bring world peace.
I have to tell you, I'm rooting for Taylor here because like any beauty pageant queen, she loves world peace.
Yes. She wants to bring world peace to
Africa.
But also to Iraq because Iraq needs the most world peace.
That is very true, Taylor. And I
would say
quite an existential statement.
That would have dated the show.
And it is how many years later?
So that's 2007. This aired.
It is.
And this probably was filmed. I think this was filmed in the winter, so they could actually film in the desert. So that was probably the winter, maybe January of 2007. This was probably filmed. I'm thinking maybe.
Yep. So it has been 9 years since then. Yeah, it just got topical. Deal with it.
And then we also meet Anjay, who his name is shown on screen called Anjay, but a lot of the kids keep mispronouncing his name as AJ. And I don't know if that's a nickname they give him or they just aren't sure what his name is. But
and of course his role model is Mahatma Gandhi.
Well, George Washington, somebody else, and Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
Those are his role models. And then there's Laurel, the girl from Boston.
Oh, I love her.
She's
got a great accent.
I have nothing written about Laurel. I don't think she really gave a real sort of fact about herself.
Her personality is her accent.
I guess.
She's got, I mean, for me, I'm watching her and I'm just like, I believe it.
Laurel,
This girl's from Boston.
Of the town council, Laurel seems the most level-headed so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I
think AJ or Anjay, whatever you want to call him, I think he's probably also a little bit more level-headed. Because clearly the two biggest personalities of the council are Mike and Taylor.
And by biggest personalities, we mean biggest whiners.
Well, Taylor's the biggest whiner of all of them.
I'm a beauty pageant queen. I'm not meant to do dishes.
Oh my god, we'll get to that.
She sounds like my aunt from Kentucky.
So after the town council arrives, the host, Jonathan, just sort of explains a brief little thing about what they have to do. It's not really important. It's just summarizing the whole concept of the show, I guess, for the kids. And he points out that there are these 40-pound wagons that they have to drag. They're 40 pounds, right? I think he said 40 pounds.
They're substantially heavy.
And they have to drag them all the way to Bonanza City, which they cannot see from where they are. They just are pointed onto a dirt road and said to go in that direction.
And here we have the beginning of our child labor disputes.
And they have no animals to pull the wagons. They have to pull the wagons themselves. And the council doesn't do shit.
No. Mike is there to do absolutely nothing and direct them as like an airport guy.
Yeah, he's sort of Mike.
Tell them which
Mike
direction
seems to
to
think
go in.
that the council's role at this point is to sort of bark orders, but not actually do anything.
Yeah.
And he only starts to do stuff once Greg starts harassing him.
No. This is what happens. Greg is like, you're not doing anything. You need to do something.
Oh, right.
So he tells Mike to get behind the wagon and push, and Mike pushes it for about 2 centimeters. And then says,
Mike tries to push. He's too weak.
And then Greg is just like, you know what? I'm fucking done with this. Just get out of the way.
That Greg is, I think, the oldest kid. He's 15. He's able to pull a wagon all by himself. All the other kids kind of have to work together to push the wagons. Mike, when he tries to pull the wagon, the one that Greg was trying to pull, he doesn't get far at all.
No.
And so Greg's basically like, you're weak. You can't do this. Let me do this.
And then, in a normal Western town, that would have been when Mike got shot.
And so it's a clusterfuck, essentially, right?
It is.
And they have these animals. They have some animals amongst the carts, and the goats escape. And there's this wonderful scene of the kids trying to chase down the goats.
Some kid brought his fucking guitar with him.
We saw that. A kid brought his guitar. I don't know if that comes back. I don't remember seeing any kids playing the guitar. Jonathan sort of separates the town council out from the other kids while they're getting the wagon set up. And he tells them that when they get to town, they have to go to the chapel and look for an old book. And at this point, it's like, is this show going to get kind of religious here?
Yeah.
Like, are they going to dig up an old Bible or something?
Yeah. Which would have probably made more sense
than
kind of what actually happened.
He kind of explains that the old book will guide them on what they have to do. And so, like, if you were watching this, like, on,
Well, maybe it's a Quran. You don't know.
TBN or something, this could totally be a religious thing. But it ends up not being.
Probably a lot of people were upset that it wasn't a Bible.
Oh, and this is also the point where we first are introduced to the actual prize that these kids are working for.
Ah, yes, the star.
The 2-pound gold star worth its weight in gold. Literally. And that will become a constant occurrence on this show.
It
happens at least twice an episode.
At every opportunity.
Whenever they need to fill in a spot. Oftentimes there'll be moments in the future where like there'll be a commercial break and it will end with and worth its weight in gold, literally. And then you'll come back from the commercial.
As if we had forgotten that it was worth its weight in gold metaphorically.
Yeah. And Jonathan says that the council has to keep it secret because he doesn't want to start a riot for the gold stars.
Which, happens anyway for other reasons.
So on the way up with the wagons, DK, who is a bit of a drama queen.
Just a little.
Very obviously pretends to trip and fall. And
we might not have been pretending.
It was a total pratfall. It did not look like a real fall.
He
sort of just fell over and was in the dirt, just
my stars,
just sort of complaining that his leg was hurting.
Yeah, and that was the first class action lawsuit that they got hit with.
If he was actually hurt, yeah. And then all of the kids, like who were around him, were sort of like throwing out these ideas that he broke his leg, or he pulled a muscle, or he was having a spasm. That was Jared's.
Yeah.
Of course, Jared would think it was a spasm.
I think DK described it as oh, I think I sprained my ankle or something.
Oh. And so the DK sort of pulls a mic and then is no longer allowed to work. And they actually put him on a wagon. So that's another, 100-something pounds onto the wagon that they get to push.
Yeah.
And then Taylor, good old country girl Taylor, is getting interviewed at this point also. And she...
Don't make fun of Taylor.
She laments...
She's too pretty to work.
She laments that there's no President Bush.
Oh, right. There's no President Bush here.
Yep, because it's a lawless town. So there's no President Bush to help her out. So the kids finally reach Bonanza City, and they're sort of looking around, and it's a total mess. Nobody knows what they're doing.
They're looking for
their places to sleep. They're looking for whatever they're supposed to be doing, and they find their mattresses. They don't get beds; they just get little mattresses, awful mattresses you would get like at a sleepaway camp.
Yeah,
or something.
And then they start to put them down, and Mike says, "Oh no, let's wait until it's dark."
No, he says let's wait until it's dark to have our first town meeting. He wants to have the first town meeting after dinner, when everyone's already
together. Yeah.
Which I can kind of understand his logic, because you want to sort of get things set up before nightfall happens. But at the same time, like, you should know all these kids are going to be too tired to actually bother, and that ends up happening. They end up too tired, and he is like, fine, go to bed.
Good old Mike.
Yeah. So they decide to segregate the boys and girls from each other in separate cabins. And so some of the kids start trying to make dinner, and it doesn't work out very well. They try cooking like a full pot of
mac
pasta,
and cheese,
and it does not work at all.
They tried because they found an old cookbook, which of course had the historical mac and cheese that the pioneers ate.
And some of the kids want to make like rock candy.
The pioneers were known for their fantastic mac and cheese making skills.
Yes. And so the younger kids who start trying to cook screw it up entirely.
Yeah, and then Sophia just grabs the pot and throws it out.
Yeah, Sophia, and like, I'm all one for the dramatic, but Sophia, she could have salvaged some of that pasta. She didn't have to dump.
But she didn't want to.
I know she didn't want to. She dumped probably like an entire day's worth of food for these kids out.
It was a lot of mac and cheese. I'm just going to say.
Because they weren't cooking it right. And so then she started and she stepped up. And Sophia demands that they follow the recipe. And they end up having dinner. It's not perfect.
No.
And it's late.
It's late. It's gross.
But it's food.
There is
and they're
complaining.
Eating. There is a lot of complaining.
Although, they're 8-year-old kids. They complain.
And I don't know if you caught this, but after the dinner scene, there's this strange shot of a rocking chair just rocking by itself in the night on the porch.
Lovely.
It's like a ghost chair.
Yeah.
And I have a theory that that's the ghost of whoever wrote the book that we'll get to.
Oh, is it supposed to be?
I don't know if it's supposed to be, but that's what I'm considering it. It's the ghost.
Good old Jebediah the Spectre.
It's one of the ghosts
has come back to haunt the town
of the dead Bonanzians.
Bonanzians.
Bonanzans?
Is that their demonym?
I don't know.
Well, what would they refer to themselves as? Probably just good old country pioneers.
Taylor complains that she is missing all of her meats and all, because she misses having protein in her diet.
Very observant. As Taylor points out, she grew up on a farm with every kind of animal.
And she's thinking of leaving. In the first episode, a lot of kids will start thinking of leaving. Jared considers this his worst day in 3 years, which I find interesting.
I want to know what happened 3 years ago, because to me this sounds pretty bad. Like, what did he find out about his parents' divorce or something?
I think Jared is maybe 9 or 10.
Yeah, I want to know what happened when Jared was 6 years old.
This was when he was 6 or 7. Something awful, something on this level happened to him, and
I still have the theory that he's the kid from The Shining.
Jimmy's the kid from The Shining.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's the kid from The Shining.
Jimmy does look like especially like, that shot in The Shining where he's like on the tricycle in the hallway
with the hair,
and he sees the twins.
Yep.
Like that shot specifically, that is what, aren't they twins in The Shining?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I was just saying Pickle Girl.
Well, we're not at Pickle Girl yet. Oh, yeah.
She could be. She could be.
So that pretty much ends day 1.
And Mike, of course, observes that he's tired too.
Oh, so all the kids are complaining that they're tired and they want to go to bed. And Anjay actually has already gone to bed.
Good old Anjay.
So it's only 3 of the council who are actually discussing what they're gonna do, and so they're like, okay, we'll just go to bed.
Yeah.
You know, Mike's attempt at leadership pretty much fails at this point.
It always fails. Let's be real here.
So in the morning, Sophia pulls her weight, and she decides to, you know, make pancakes for everyone.
And that actually turns out pretty
That turns out good because she's following the recipe.
Someone took too many pancakes,
Yes.
and I'm blaming Mike. I think that kid took 12.
Well,
I think
hold on.
I blame Mike.
First, we have to discuss that Jared, on his way to breakfast, is talking about how hungry he is, and he says, as Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream."
Very observant.
Are you just gonna say very observant to everything that I've observed?
Not necessarily.
So
Martin Luther King did have a dream. That is a true statement.
He quotes MLK Jr. with regards to wanting breakfast. But then when he gets to breakfast, there's no food for him.
He might have actually been dreaming about pancakes. You don't know.
Possibly. But yeah, so somebody took more than their fair share.
Just like MLK and civil rights. He was dreaming about them, and then he got there and they were all gone.
But, you know, and there's blame being thrown around saying that, like, the older kids probably took more than...
I blame Mike. I think it was Mike.
I blame the whole system.
No, I blame Mike.
They shouldn't have had a buffet system. They should have been like... Someone should have stood there at the pancakes and be like, one.
She said take one per person.
Yeah, but someone should have been watching and been like, you get one. But there's also complaints that people took all the peaches. I guess apparently they had tinned peaches or something. I don't know. But people were taking way more food than they were supposed to be taking.
Well, that is...
But they're children.
Inherently
They're
clear.
Children, but I guess that's the point of this whole show.
Yeah, the point is that they're children and they're supposed to be mature enough to self-regulate.
So during the argument about the food situation, it cuts to a bunch of people. And one special girl...
She just shows up out of nowhere, out of the blue.
There's one special girl who shows up, and it sort of lingers on her for a little while.
Let me see, what is her name?
Well, we'll get to her name in a second, but we have dubbed her Pickle Girl.
Yeah.
Because
she's just holding a pickle.
There are a few kids holding pickles in these shots.
We noticed that
but
when we went back and watched
the thing
it.
about Pickle Girl is she is sort of holding her pickle
on a stick.
It has like an uncooked piece of pasta,
a kebab,
or something through it, and there's just something magical about Pickle Girl.
There is. Who is she and what is her story?
She's not one of the main kids who shows up a lot. She's one of the background ones.
No, and you have to work to find her in some of the shots. But
yeah,
she's there.
But she's there, and it lingers on her with her pickle. And so during the arguing, Mike is trying to conduct like a sort of like a Q&A,
trying to get
people's
calm
opinions
down
and get their thoughts.
Solve the case of the missing pancakes.
No, he's not trying to solve the case of the missing pancakes. He's trying to figure out like how they should structure themselves at this moment, complaints and stuff. But it's, you know, they're a bunch of kids. They're not having any organization, so they're all sort of shouting at once. And you see some of the quieter kids are raising their hands as if they're in school, but that's not working because you have the other ones who are shouting too loud. And so
in any case, Greg isn't having any of it.
Greg comes up on stage and is like, "You need to take control."
Helpful advice. And Mike does not take criticism well.
No, he doesn't. But to be fair, Greg is kind of being a little in his face at this point.
Well, that's just Greg's personality.
And Greg
is a rebel without a cause.
Greg ends up pushing Mike. He pushes Mike. Actually pushes Mike into Taylor, who almost falls off the stage.
Oh, God.
And then does this weird thing when like Mike somehow finally convinces Greg to leave the stage or whatever, and Greg does this weird thing where he like presses his finger to Mike's chin. It's this really odd, almost like
he did do that.
Almost sexual sort of thing. And he just slowly like walks away, and it's bizarre.
It's like a threat, but it's also like a come on.
Yeah, it's weird. It's odd.
It is odd.
So that was breakfast. And then first Michael shows up. This is the first real appearance of Michael.
Okay.
And Michael, I would say probably maybe the most famous person.
Really?
Of the Kid Nation cast, because he's the one. Michael did a Reddit AMA. He's been the one who's been the most vocal post
and he answered questions
about it, and we'll refer to his AMA about Kid Nation in the future.
It's interesting to say the least.
Yeah. So Michael sort of stands up and he takes charge and he sort of shouts everyone down and being like, "You guys need to calm down. Let's take this one step at a time. Let's,
Yeah. And does what Mike should have been doing.
Yeah, he sort of takes the leadership role where Mike is being, totally inferior. And so yeah, then the council gets to go look at the stupid journal.
Yeah, so they
find... Which, by the way, Jonathan, the host, said that they should, as soon as they get into town, look at the chapel in the book. The town council waited until the next morning to look in the book. So it makes me wonder if there was possibly maybe a page in there about how to set up the town better on their first day, but they weren't allowed to look at it because they checked it the second day. Or Jonathan just told them the wrong directions. I don't know. Or maybe it's just a continuity error in the show's editing. It might have been
editing. That might have been them looking at it the first day or something.
I didn't check their clothing that they were wearing.
Neither did I.
But the kids seem to have the same clothing every day, almost.
Oh, God.
Like, I think they maybe have, like, one change of clothes. And they also have their like, what is it? Their challenge clothing.
Right.
Their showdown clothing.
Showdown in the town.
So, yeah. They look at this journal, and it's written by... We're never told who it's written by, but as I said, I think it's a ghost.
Yeah, it's written in the first person, like a nut job.
It's written in the first person as if the person writing it knew that they were all going to die and that in the future somebody else was going to find the journal.
Which begs the question, what are you doing writing this journal while your town is in flames?
Yeah. And so it basically tells them to divide the town into districts.
It's me from 1885.
Yes.
I was wondering if you could do a better job running this town.
So the ghost person wants them to divide the town into districts.
Yeah. And like any good kids, they listen to the ghost person.
Yeah, they listen to the ghost book.
And they turn the town into freaking apartheid and separate everyone into colors.
They divide it into yellow, blue, green, and red. Taylor gets yellow, and she gets all the younger children because she feels more comfortable bossing around younger children.
Which makes sense.
Makes sense. Anjay has blue, and he gets all the older kids.
Which is interesting. It actually... works kind of well for him.
It's interesting because Anjay, isn't
he the
Mike,
youngest?
He's not the youngest
of the
no.
leaders?
Taylor's the youngest of the leaders.
How old is Anjay?
Anjay? I think is 11.
Okay.
And I think Laurel and Mike are both maybe 13 or 14.
Yeah,
they're the oldest, and then Taylor's the youngest. But it's interesting because he's not the oldest. He's not among the oldest of the kids.
Yeah, and he still gets the oldest kids.
He takes all the oldest kids, and then Laurel gets green, and she gets, in my opinion, the most talented children. She gets Sophia. She gets Michael.
Yeah.
She also gets Jimmy.
Yeah.
Adorable little Jimmy.
We'll get to that.
And then Mike gets red, and he gets basically the leftovers. He gets Jared, and he gets DK. He gets Jared and DK. Those are the only ones I remember. I think Pickle Girl might be in...
Who was she?
I know Pickle Girl's not in red, but I think she might be in green or blue. But I'm not quite sure. I haven't really noticed.
I thought she was yellow.
She might be yellow.
I thought she was in the kitchen.
Well, she might have been in the kitchen when they were all having the clusterfuck on the first day.
No, I thought... Okay, well, anyways, we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
And then this is when Jimmy has a breakdown.
I wrote that down too. Jimmy has his first breakdown.
But the poor thing just crawls off into a corner and starts sobbing sweet tears of lost innocence.
Yeah, it's like after they divided everyone up, they were sort of like, well, where's Jimmy? And they find Jimmy just crying off in a corner.
Yeah, and Laurel is the sweetest thing.
Yeah, Laurel's,
She tries to comfort him. She's like, hey, let's do this. I miss my parents too.
Mm-hmm. Jimmy points out that he especially misses his dad.
Yeah. She's like, I know your mom isn't here to tuck you into bed. And he's like, and my dad.
Yeah.
All work and no play makes Jimmy
Laurel's being what Laurel is. She's sort of,
a very upset
nurturing.
Child. She is very nurturing.
I think that's her strongest quality on the show, is that she tries to get people to actually work together, unlike Mike and Taylor, who kind of just...
panning for attention.
Yeah, and sort of like going off about themselves, being so good.
Being upset that it's so hard not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. So that night, it pretty much cuts to night, right? Unless you have anything.
Yeah.
So it cuts to the night of day 2. Greg and Blaine, who are the 2 oldest children in the town, they go around and they start vandalizing the whole town, writing in chalk Team Blue over everything.
Such a crazy prank. They go around
it's a
writing,
wild and crazy prank, and then when
"Go Blue" on everyone's door,
and then in the morning, everyone's acting as if they spray painted everything or something, because they're all like, "Oh, like this is ridiculous," and they're trying to wipe off the chalk. Outraged. It's just chalk.
My favorite quote is Mike going "shh shh 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 shh," diva style.
What's that kid's name? Is it Alex, the one with the little snaggle tooth? Alex, who's on
I woke up and
Team
Greg
Blue.
wasn't
He's on
there.
Team Blue, and he sort of throws Greg and Blaine under the bus to Mike. And he's like, when I woke up, Greg and Blaine weren't there. And so he's sort of, tattletaling on them.
And Greg is just like,
but Alex is very observant. He's like, it's very childish, And so this is when we learn that Bonanza City has only one bathroom, one outhouse.
Right.
For 40 children.
This is a very, very safe town. The buildings definitely
They do get toilet paper, though, which is nice. One of the girls going into it is holding a roll of toilet paper.
They don't have to use desert sand.
They don't have to use the goats and chickens they have.
Oh, God.
And it's...
Yeah, migrant workers have better living conditions.
So they only
kids.
have one
toilet for 40 kids.
And I'm pretty sure they don't have any showers or any other sort of plumbing.
They don't show them.
To wash their hands, they have to use like the buckets of water they collect. So it's like, it's really disgusting. I would be one of the kids wanting to leave. And apparently they're wearing the
same clothes every day.
I think so.
So unless they shot this whole series in one day.
Mm-hmm. So,
we've got some issues here with sanitation.
Mm-hmm. Day 3 is a very big, important day for the town.
Oh, and yeah.
Because day 3, they assign jobs to the districts. And they also introduce us to the soda shop and the...
Well, they had the challenge first.
First they introduce us to the concept of them having to have jobs.
Right.
And there's a soda shop and there's I think they call it a saloon. It's a saloon, and there's also a candy store.
Yeah.
So those are going to be...
apparently Bonanza City is a dry town.
Yeah, because
they have
5
soda.
cent root beer.
They have soda.
They have 5-cent root beer. However,
and I couldn't stop thinking...
They are only paid in nickels.
I hope no one in this town is a diabetic. Otherwise, there is nothing for them.
That is true. They have their first...
big challenge.
Oh, what they call it, a showdown. That's what they call them, the showdowns.
Showdown in the town.
And it's this water pump challenge where they have these 4 like oil derrick looking things.
How do you describe?
And they have to go around.
It has colored water.
Pump out colored water.
And they all get a map that tells them where to put the pumping station. They have to pick. It's not small. It's like a big pumping station. They all have to pick it up, the teams do, and move it according to where the map says.
Because they can only collect their own colored water. They can only collect
their own colored water, and I think someone accidentally collects the
Team
wrong
Blue
water.
accidentally starts collecting
Which
red
made
for a little
me think, how did they get water to Bonanza City?
Well, they probably constructed that way before. They probably stuck it under the ground.
True, but it's a desert, and they seem to have a lot of water.
Well, I've always assumed that there's like, outside of Bonanza, just off of the cameras, there's this whole setup, this whole elaborate setup outside of town.
There definitely is.
That the kids get to look at every single day, wishing they could be
like
in
Jonathan's hotel is like right across the viewpoint.
No, I think Jonathan probably stayed in a trailer, but a fancy trailer, and they could watch the crew eat,
Jonathan didn't stay in a trailer. He stayed in a hotel.
Well, he would have 4 seasons. He would have
4 seasons.
He would have had to have been driven from Santa Fe every single day.
That pretty boy did not stay in a trailer.
There's no way this show paid for transportation from Santa Fe every single day to get him.
You don't know. In any case,
we'll have to look at Michael's
Jonathan seems to be showered every morning.
Well, yeah. I'm assuming the crew's probably also. So during the pump challenge, DK fell again.
Yep, good old DK. You can always count on one thing, and that is that he will trip.
And like as we said, the blue team started pumping up the wrong water. It's not really a very eventful thing.
Not really.
Red team members of Red Team seem happy that Mike is pulling his weight during the challenge, and he seems to be doing some work.
He kicks it up a little bit, and I think Red Team actually wins.
Yeah, Red Team wins, and they get what is called the upper class.
Yeah, a caste system.
And so the upper class,
just perfect.
The upper class's responsibilities are nothing. They get paid $1 to do nothing. They can go work wherever they want to, wherever they're needed.
Lovely.
Team Blue wins second place, and they get the merchant class, so they work the soda shop and the candy store.
Yellow gets third place, and they get cooks,
which doesn't make Sophia very happy.
No, she's not happy at all. And then the
Green
last level is laborers, and they get paid 10 cents. I
think it was $1. I don't remember. I think it was maybe like $1.50. 25, and then maybe 10.
I think they get paid 10 cents each.
They don't get paid a lot, and they get paid in buffalo nickels.
Our good old host Jonathan just points it out. There's not a lot of money in this bag. Sophia just throws it at her.
Well, Laurel, she throws it to Laurel. Laurel is the team captain.
Right.
Don't worry, I get Sophia and Laurel's names confused.
In any case,
but I do want to point out that one of the unfortunate things about this challenge, I don't know if you noticed, but for the people pumping the blue and the green water, it sort of stained them a bit.
Like their skin?
It stained their skin and their faces.
I did not notice that.
They looked kind of like they were dead. Like they were
that is unfortunate.
Reanimated zombies or something. They did not. It made them look really sickly with the staining of especially on the kids who were more pale than others. I think there was a shot. Oh, I don't know his name. I think his name might be. I don't remember his name. But you know that kid who you sometimes see. There's a kid who wanders town in an aviator jacket, with patches on it and stuff. I think I see him on one of them, and they looked at him having a reaction shot, and his face was totally. It looked like he was a corpse.
Kid. Yeah. In any case, they finish in under 20 minutes.
They have to finish in an hour. They have an hour to do this.
They have an hour. Oh, right. They have an hour.
And not only does this assign their jobs, but if they all finish before the hour goes up,
they get a prize.
They get a bonus prize.
Which is hidden. It's 2 boxes. We see 2 boxes, and we're not sure what they are.
Yeah, and the prize, after they win, Team Green almost misses it, but they manage to finish just in time.
With 15 seconds.
And the 2 prizes are revealed to be either 7 more outhouses for the town.
Yep.
Or a television.
And at this point, I'm still not sure that there is electricity in Bonanza City.
Mm-hmm.
One of the kids points out, how will they know if tornadoes are coming?
Yeah. So the town...
Which is, if you have a tornado coming in those shabby, earthquake unsafe houses...
Well, they're screwed.
You've got more problems than just...
But then again, they're in New Mexico. It's not really known for tornadoes. It's not really in tornado
Well, he
Valley.
doesn't know that. To be fair, the middle of America just blends into one.
It's New Mexico. It's different.
It's not that different.
And so the town actually seems pretty divided about this choice.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
A lot of the younger kids obviously seem to want the TV.
Well, they need tornado warnings. They need it.
And so the town council has to decide. And Taylor wants the toilets. Anjay wants the toilets. Laurel wants the toilets. Mike, however, is there's nothing to do here. We need entertainment. We need a TV. So 3-1.
Mike taking charge as always.
3-1 vote. They choose the toilets. So now they have a total of 8 toilets.
I thought Mike eventually decided that he did want the toilets.
It's not clear if he decided he wanted the toilets, but he was the one who addressed Jonathan. Because at this point, it seems like Mike has become sort of the de facto voice for the council. So when at the beginning of the show, at the beginning of the episode, when they're telling all the kids to get to the wagons, it's Mike who's let's go, right?
Yeah.
And then it seems like it's usually Mike at this point who sort of seems like he's the one who has to tell the people everything. So I'm not sure if he actually...
It's not clear if he has to. He definitely does, though.
Yeah. Regardless of if he actually changed his mind, it's a 3-1 vote for the toilets. So the toilets win, which is the better decision. And so day 3... ends.
Day 3
right?
ends with
We don't really get anything for day 3, right?
well, we do find out Pickle Girl's name, which is Layla.
Well, Pickle Girl, Layla's name shows up in the morning of day 4. That's
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, day 3 pretty much, we don't really see the night of day 3. Everyone just sort of ends their day. Day 4 begins, though, with a little introduction to Layla, who is Pickle Girl. They talk to her for a little bit.
Yep.
And then there is a very strong worry that Yellow will totally fuck up breakfast. Sophia is worried that Yellow will fuck up breakfast.
She's very upset that they aren't doing dishes.
Well, that happens afterwards.
Which Taylor explains.
After the meal, well, first they have the meal and everyone's surprised that Yellow did a good job, considering that a lot of the people who are on Yellow were the ones who initially fucked up dinner the first night. But they seem to do well with breakfast, and Sophia gives them her seal of approval.
Yeah.
She's pleasantly surprised.
Good old Sophia.
But then Sophia turns right around when she notices that Team Yellow didn't clean up any of the dishes.
Yep.
Now,
very upset by this.
I have to ask you, do you think it's Yellow's responsibility to clean up the dishes?
I feel like it is.
Because technically, as part of their caste system, their jobs and stuff, Yellow Team is just the cooks. The laborers are...
Oh, you think it's the laborers' jobs?
Well, the laborers are supposed to do the work, supposedly in the town, right?
Yeah. Cleaning up dishes is part of cooking.
Yeah, but wouldn't the laborers take over after the cooking was done? Wouldn't that be part of their job? Because what else would the laborers be doing? Besides, cleaning the toilets.
I don't know.
Sophia does mention at one point that they do the laundry. And that she's really upset that she only gets paid 10 cents to do laundry.
Yeah.
So I guess they're probably slapping clothes on a rock somewhere.
Oh God. That is a scary thought.
Yeah. So you think it's Yellow's job to clean the dishes?
I feel like it is.
I'm conflicted, but
they get paid more. They should be doing more work.
Taylor does not take it graciously, though.
No,
Sophia's
she
complaints.
doesn't.
She doesn't even consider.
No.
She's a beauty queen.
Good old Taylor is she ain't built for this. She ain't built for this.
She's a beauty queen. She ain't do dishes.
She ain't do dishes. Me neither, Taylor. I agree with you. I feel you wholeheartedly.
And then on day 4 is when the stores in the town are actually officially opened. And so we get to see the inside of the candy shop and the saloon. And
everyone goes nuts. Who is it that buys the book?
Well, Jared.
Good old Jared.
Jared who's on Team Red, and Team Red, are Team Red the leaders at this point? Yeah, they are. They're upper class. So he has $1 to spend. And so Jared goes nuts. He spends, I think, probably all of his money. He buys himself a piece of dark chocolate, which he points out is the most expensive item that he can buy.
What a name that I can't say.
And he also buys a book. And he buys. To be fair, the selection of books they have,
King Henry V.
They seem to only have Shakespeare for some reason. Shakespeare and maybe Mark Twain.
It's interesting. It's not the books that you would expect they would be selling to 8.5 through 15-year-olds.
I'm guessing they're books that might be historically accurate to have been available for kids to read, like in the Wild West. I doubt they had.
I don't feel like pioneer kids were reading King Henry V.
Yeah, but I don't think kids' books in that same sort of vein, like we have now, were really a thing in the 1800s.
That's because they were all illiterate.
Well, even the literate ones who would have been of the more upper class were probably reading,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Anyway, so he picks up King Henry V.
Yeah.
And that's what he purchases.
It's very important to him.
And then Sophia comes in. And
none of it interests her except for the bike.
Yeah, she sees a $3 bike, an old-timey, old-fashioned,
To be fair,
this thing is just a pile of metal sort of bike. To
be fair, if I was in Bonanza City, I would be wanting that freaking bike.
Oh, you wouldn't have to walk anywhere. You would just get to just ride it.
Ride the bicycle everywhere you go.
You could make more money by charging people for rides on the bike if you wanted to.
That is a good idea.
And Sophia actually has a very enterprising idea to afford that bike.
She starts dancing for money, which
she dances for
sounds
money.
Better than it actually It sounds worse than it actually is.
She just starts doing some white girl dancing.
Yep, just starts moving. I think at one point she's kind of teaching them.
She's like,
there's a few moves you have to
know. 3
know.
moves you need to know. I don't remember one of them.
Swimming.
But she says, like, open the door, swimming, and there's a second one, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't
another
remember.
One, but
she gets it in a fairly quick amount of time.
Somehow she ends up getting. Oh yeah, one of the girls. I think she says it's either Olivia or Mallory, and I think those are the sisters. I think Olivia and Mallory are the sisters. One of them actually pays Sophia to dance further away from them. And so she eventually gets her $3, and she manages to get her $3 in one day. And she gets
the bike.
I mean, you have to remember that these are kids who are being paid, between 10 cents to $1, and she manages to collect $3 from them.
Yep.
She only has 10 cents to her name, so she collects, $2.90 from these children.
Yeah.
And she gets the bike.
Impressive.
Although she might have gotten more. Who knows how much more she would have gotten. Whatever the case, she was able to afford the bike.
True.
And so she gets it, and she gets to ride around, and she's all happy, and I think Sophia deserves it.
I think she does too.
So then the kids have their dinner, and they're at bed, and the council kind of has a little secret nighttime meeting. And they're sort of talking about how they think Sophia deserves a star.
They're pretty sure, except Laurel isn't 100% convinced.
Laurel says that she thinks Michael deserves a star for standing up and getting all the kids to actually start working together.
And they decide they're going to wait.
No, but the thing I have written down here is that Laurel says something kind of odd. She says that they seem pretty sure about who they want to choose unless somebody impresses them before breakfast.
Before breakfast.
And it's already nighttime. Everyone's going to bed. And so it makes me wonder, what would someone have to do to impress Laurel?
I did not think of that.
What is she hinting at there?
Laurel, you sneaky dog.
Someone has to impress me before breakfast.
Well, maybe it's not dirty.
Maybe I'm sure she didn't mean it dirty, but
maybe she's waiting for someone to bribe her with like
Sophia gives her the bicycle.
With a book.
King Henry
V. Most erotic book I can think of.
Anyway, so it's
like the Kama Sutra for Shakespeare lovers.
Yeah. So okay. So day 5 breaks, and Jimmy and Cody and one other kid go out rabbit hunting, and I guess the hope is that if they find a rabbit, Jimmy will become attached to it and want to stay. He's still having his doubts about And Cody, I just want to talk about Cody for a second.
Cody says, what's cooler than going hunting for rabbits with a bunch of guys?
Yeah, Cody's kind of a interesting kid.
He's interesting. I agree.
I haven't mentioned him yet. We haven't really talked about him, but he shows up. He's one of the more maybe secondary kids of the town.
Yeah.
Because he's shown up a fair bit for not being a town council or really being involved too much. He's the one who sort of points out that it's ridiculous they only have one bathroom for so many kids. And he has this stick with him. He's always walking with a stick. That's how you can identify Cody. He has this stick which is like maybe 2 times taller than he is. And so he's going around, and they run into Michael, and Michael, is talking about how he wants Jimmy to stay, and he seems to really like the younger kids. He doesn't want to see any of them leave. And while they're out hunting for rabbits, some girls come over the ridge, and Cody shouts, "Girls, go away. This is man's day."
Oh, God.
He seems very into the men thing.
Yeah. And to be clear,
bro.
It seems that they were hunting the rabbits by throwing rocks at them.
I didn't see exactly how they were hunting. They were just trying to find one.
And hoping that they would hit a rabbit with the rock, and it would just like...
I don't know. If they accidentally killed the rabbit, I think Jimmy would have probably ran off into the desert crying at this point. He probably
would have been a lot more upset than... I mean, if
Honestly, I think it's good that Jimmy left, considering that in a couple episodes they're going to kill a chicken.
Oh, God. I don't know how he would have handled that.
No. Spoiler alert, by the way. So then there's a town meeting. And unless you have anything else to say before the town meeting.
Not really.
Okay, so the town meeting is convened, and
Jonathan mentions that it's a gold star,
literally
worth its weight in gold.
Well, he doesn't mention that yet. The town meeting is, I don't know if you noticed, but all the benches are colored a certain color. and so they're even separated off in the thing.
Right, more separating by color.
Blue for some reason is seated in the back, even though they're not the laborers. I would have assumed the laborers would have, if they were doing the whole separation thing, got sat in the back.
Might have been predetermined.
Maybe blue, maybe because they had the older kids, so they were taller, so they could seat the ones in the back.
Well, evolutionarily speaking, blue is just not as good as the other colors. It deserves to sit in the back.
So even at the town council meeting, they're not allowed to mingle with one another. They have to sit in their assigned seatings. And so Sophia stands up during the meeting and talks about how she's not happy with certain people not doing their jobs.
Jonathan asks if everyone's happy with the town council, and everyone raises their hand, and then he says, who's not happy? And Sophia, God bless her heart, just raises her hand, shoots up, and she is not happy that the yellow team isn't cleaning up their own dishes.
And
she very clearly directs her complaint at the town council and says, I don't know whose fault this is, but if it's your fault, then I'm mad at you.
Well, yeah, she says, I don't know who's at fault here, but if it's because of a lack of leadership, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And Taylor takes great offense at Sophia.
At one point, she accuses Sophia of being jealous that she's not in the cooking
leans
group.
over and I think whispers to Mike. It's either Mike or Laurel who she whispers to, and she's like, she thinks that Sophia's just being selfish because she's unhappy that she didn't get in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Which might be a little true. Sophia might be a bit angry, but
it's possible. But also Taylor might just be being a bitch.
Yeah, Taylor's being Taylor.
Although oddly enough, of the town council, she is not the biggest bitch.
Mike.
Well, I think we all
Taylor
know.
is not the biggest bitch yet. Taylor, the little beauty pageant, Taylor will be Taylor for the rest.
I mean, if we just tallied up the tantrums that people are throwing, though, Mike would win by a long shot.
Mike only has a tantrum, though, when he's confronted with stuff. Taylor seems to have, like, predetermined tantrums. Like, she just refuses to do stuff. Mike is kind of like, he only starts complaining about people not liking him when people point out that they don't like him. It's then at this point where Jonathan's, like, asks, there's been some talk about some kids wanting to leave. Is there anyone who wants to leave? And Taylor chooses not to leave.
Taylor
kids,
sticks it out, which kudos to Taylor.
Some of the other kids who were thinking about leaving
none of them
to stay. Yeah. But Jimmy raises his hand.
Poor Jimmy.
Poor little roly-poly Jimmy.
Roly-poly.
He looks like
you make him sound like he's like morbidly obese or something.
He's not. He's little kid chubby. He looks like he hasn't gotten all of his baby fat removed.
He raises his hand. He is ready to go home.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I would be too if I had witnessed all of the tomfoolery that had been going around.
And I just want to point out that I think it's really adorable when Jonathan has Jimmy come stand up in front of the town and talk about like why he's ready to leave. And Jimmy is so small compared to Jonathan.
He is less than half his size.
Jimmy has to like crane his neck like really far back to just sort of look up at Jonathan, and I think it's really adorable. He kind of looks like a little puppy dog or something.
And he basically just says, I'm too young for this.
Yeah, he's like, I'm too young for this. This is too much for me. I miss my home. I want to go. And he leaves. And everyone's sad, but
yeah.
What can they do?
Oddly enough, they really wanted him to stay. These are a bunch of like kids and mid-teenaged pubescent children. And they really band together to try to get him to stay, which I thought it was kind of sweet.
I mean, if anything, I thought Laurel should have probably begged him to stay a bit stronger. Team Green should have.
I think she tried.
Jimmy is Team Green, and so Jimmy leaving, that's one less person for Team Green.
Yeah, but now they're at a distinct
especially since
disadvantage.
They're laborers, and I doubt they would have had Jimmy do like really hard labor. But he could have carried clothes or something. It's one more.
That's adorable.
It's they're the ones who needed another person the most, and they're kind of they're at a disadvantage now. And I think I would like to keep track of which team loses more people over time, because I'm not sure if more people decide to leave. I think they do,
They have to.
But they're down to 39 now. So one team is always going to have at least one less than the others.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, especially for maybe like physical challenges and stuff,
it would be a big thing. Although, to be fair, he was pretty small. I mean, he was not going to be able to lift that huge.
No, but he could help carry buckets back and forth.
Was Jimmy the youngest?
Jimmy was the youngest.
So he must have been 8.5 then.
He was the 8.5-year-old.
He looks a lot younger than 8.5.
He does.
He is small.
He was a teeny tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And so
and
okay.
Then, do we get to the gold star yet?
Well, this is when Jonathan explains to the rest of the town.
Yeah, that there's a gold star in the running here.
That there's a gold star that's worth its weight in gold, literally.
Literally.
And so the town council kind of has to decide.
$20,000.
The town council has to decide who they want to win the star.
Right.
And I don't know if it's an unspoken rule, but there seems to be a rule that they can't award it to themselves. Like, they can't give it to their own, like, to the town council.
I bet you Mike tried. I bet you Taylor tried.
So, but before we reveal who actually wins the star, I want to ask you, like, I thought we could maybe go over who we think should win the star.
Yeah.
And so you could go first if you have an idea of who you want to win the star. Who you think deserves it the most.
I strongly felt that Sophia deserved it. I mean, of all of the people in that town who were, like, really just making a difference, Sophia seemed to have an authority that none of the other kids had, and it might be because of her age.
She's one of the older ones,
and her height. She's taller,
although when she stands next to Jonathan, she's also pretty small. I think Jonathan must be like 6 and something feet tall. He must be a really tall guy,
possibly,
or else all these kids are really tiny.
Maybe it's just in his contract that they have to like
he's on a box.
Yeah,
either he's on a box or all the other kids are like in a hole.
Yeah,
and they have to stand next to him.
Yeah. I thought Sophia deserved it because I really felt like she got the kids to band together and actually do work, which if anyone knows kids, they do not like to do work. Yeah, I'm surprised they got as much done as they did.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if she might have like brothers and sisters.
She probably does.
Or if that's just her personality, if she's just able to really be sort of in charge.
In any case,
it makes me wonder why they didn't give Sophia one of the council jobs, because she seems like the most competent.
Yeah, and like the oldest person on the town council is 11, and they're supposed to represent.
No, the oldest one is an 11.
13.
Laurel, I think, is the oldest one on the council. Mike is 11, and Anjay is 11 also. Now that I remember,
it just feels like she would have been a more natural fit.
But maybe that's the point. Maybe they didn't want to give the perfect people on the council, because if you have the perfect people on the council, there'd be no issues. Sophia would be able to be like, you know what, this is what we should do, and then there would be no drama in the show. Yeah,
she's not afraid of working though.
Oh no,
which makes me respect her even more.
That is really important.
Yeah, I don't know, who do you think should have won?
I'm gonna agree with Sophia.
Yeah.
This episode seemed to really highlight Sophia. Like, I do think, as Laurel pointed out, that Michael did an important thing with getting actually the people to sit down. But I think Sophia did more, at least in the sense of like even at the beginning, Sophia's right there. She's pulling the wagons. We see her pull one of the wagons with Greg for a little bit.
Yeah.
At the beginning, Sophia's the one who's like steps up and is like, no, you have to cook. You have to follow the recipe this way. And I'm betting that if Sophia didn't stand up in that first night with making sure the kids followed the recipe, that the kids, when they probably wouldn't have followed the recipe.
No, they wouldn't have.
But they knew that Sophia was
they needed someone older to be like, okay, this is
important
cooking,
and to show them that it's important, because you can tell a kid, oh, do this, but the kid actually has to see that it's important before they actually learn, like, oh yeah, I am supposed to do it that way. So Sophia sort of was acting kind of like a teacher
a little bit.
And she was also really fun. She, her dancing for the bicycle was really endearing.
That was pretty endearing, actually.
And she didn't seem like, even if she was kind of pissed that she didn't win the cooking, she didn't seem like that much of a sore loser about it.
Oh, no, not at all.
She just wanted, like, she wasn't, like, hovering over them, being like, you have to do it this way, this way, this way, until she saw that the dishes weren't clean.
I would like to say who doesn't deserve the star.
Oh, really?
And that would be Greg.
Oh, yeah, Greg does not.
Bonanza City's own little vandal.
Yeah.
Running the dangerous streets at night and
yeah, so
and gang tagging everything.
Greg,
Team Blue.
even though I know you have a soft spot for Greg,
Well, I liked that he bullies Mike because
you just don't like Mike.
I just don't like Mike.
You know,
But at the same time, Greg, why?
Greg seems like he's
why?
a bully for no reason.
He's a rebel without a cause. He's a rebel without a cause.
Greg seems like he just.
And Mike is that goofy police officer that's always like, "Get back here!" And Greg's like, "Ah."
Well, I mean, to Mike's credit, I think he's trying. He just isn't good at it.
Oh, he's trying.
He's just not good
Trying
at it.
is one thing he is.
You know, he doesn't know how to do it right. Like Sophia tries and she does it right. You know, she tries in the right way and gets stuff done. Mike tries.
I think it's because she's older. She has an authority that comes from her being older and a maturity that also comes from her being older.
Also, you know,
That
I don't want to sound sexist here, but Sophia also, you know, because she is a girl, she probably is at her age a little bit more mature than the other people who would be like the boys who would be at her same age. She's certainly more
mature than Greg.
Because I think she's like 14 or something. She's close in age to Greg.
She is. Greg is the oldest, but she's not that far.
Greg acts
him.
like
way
Greg. Less mature.
Oh God, Greg. Greg, why?
And you know, obviously at that age, you know, there's you know, testosterone being flown around between Mike and Greg.
Oh, there's more than just testosterone.
Well, yeah, the little chin
being flown around between those two.
Oh dear. Cool it, Polanski. And yeah, you know, they're obviously competing for alpha male status in the town. And Greg can pull his weight, but he does it obnoxiously. Mike
just like screaming.
Mike I think Mike might be too sensitive for the role. Because he seems like he's about to, he gets flustered and he's gonna cry. I think
it's like, have you ever noticed how small dogs always bark more? Because they feel like at other dogs,
he feels threatened.
He feels threatened by Greg.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I would too.
Well, because I think Mike takes his status as a council
very
seriously, and Greg doesn't give him the respect that I think Mike thinks he deserves, which is interesting considering that Mike never earned the status as a council member.
No,
Mike was given that job by the producers, who decided he would be an interesting one to have.
Yeah, I want to know who picked the town council, because I have a few issues to bring up with them.
Probably, you know, network execs, probably somebody working on it. Execs. They looked at the 40 kids, I'm sure, and were just like, you know, who would be the most dramatic? Supposedly they claimed that it was supposed to represent ages and geography. Supposedly.
I don't buy it.
But I think you know, they tried to get kids who were more middle of the road, maybe, you know, not ones who are so young and so weak to where they couldn't do anything. You know, they did mention that Mike was a experienced Boy Scout, so they probably thought that Mike would have some skills.
They were wrong
with something, but like so far the stuff in Bonanza hasn't really had to do anything with something you would really learn in the Boy Scouts. Like, you know, they don't have to make fires really.
Yeah.
They don't have to tie knots. I was never in the Boy Scouts, so those are really all I think Boy Scouts can do.
I was in the Boy Scouts, and I will tell you most of it was making lanyards and hiking.
Well, maybe that's what he was doing then when they were leading the wagons. He was, let's hike. Onward.
What would have helped me? If there's any poison oak, leaves of 3, let it be. That is something Mike could have helped out with. I'm sure.
That much poison oak in Bonanza City?
I doubt it.
There is a lake near Bonanza City, which I really hope none of the kids drink water out of.
They might.
Who knows how the drainage is for that lake? If there's any fresh water coming into it.
Well, where do you think the outhouses go to?
Oh God, hole in the ground. That's all it goes to. So yeah, so the town council agreed with us on who should win, and they chose Sophia.
They did choose Sophia.
And this is actually the point where we find out that the gold star is actually worth $20,000. Before this, Jonathan is just hinting, "Oh, it's worth its weight in gold." Ha 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 ha! I'm so funny and clever. But this is where the point where he's actually like, it's worth $20,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Sophia's like, what? She cannot believe it.
You have to do it with the southern accent. What?
Is she Southern?
I thought she had like a slight
She has
southern
an accent, but I can't pinpoint it. It's not like a thick Southern drawl.
Wasn't it like one of the
It's like
Carolinas or something?
It's like a more, if it is Southern, it's one of the more northern Southern, like maybe like Virginia, like
That might be it.
right up against Maryland. Maybe it's Maryland. Who knows? I don't know. I don't remember where she lives.
I don't remember
where she's
either.
From. So she wins the star, and part of winning the star is that they get to have a phone call with their parents.
Yeah, you get to see Sophia's mom and her cat.
Now, one of the things that I find really interesting about this is, according to Michael's AMA, the phone calls were legit, even though they seem kind of awkward and staged. At least he claims that they were real.
I believe it.
And so it makes me wonder, like, how they were able to get camera shots of the mom and Sophia at the same time. Now,
I don't know. Maybe they just like they were like, okay.
Did they have teams ready
I think
close
they had
to
teams...
every single, or maybe they only had teams ready to the kids that they thought would win. So like,
that's interesting.
Pickle Girl's house, maybe Jared's house, the twins, not the twins, the sisters, Mallory and Olivia, maybe their houses, you know, they didn't really have people waiting for them because they thought, you know,
yeah,
they're not going to do it.
That's an interesting question.
But the older kids who they probably knew.
How did they manage? They must maybe the phone calls weren't done like right after.
Oh, maybe they like waited, like maybe they just said, okay, Sophia, go out, you'll be able to call your mom, and then like they waited a little while.
Yeah, they waited like half an hour
or maybe a day
to drive to her house.
Because like, I get the feeling that some of the editing is a bit different. According to, I think Michael says in his AMA that not everything they show happened on the same day.
It's not sequential. It can't be.
Yeah. So, and maybe they reshot some of it. You know, maybe like the initial things, like they did actually go and call their parents, and it actually happened. But just, you know, they maybe like reshot a little bit of it.
That's also possible.
But it wasn't entirely staged, is what I'm trying to say. It's like, you know, it wasn't pre-planned that Sophia would win. The kids actually chose Sophia, and at least that's what I get the idea.
I mean, who else would they have chosen?
Well, I mean, no, it wasn't like pre-planned by like the studio to say like, okay, this day Sophia's gonna win, this day Sophia's gonna win. So yeah,
that would have upset me.
And
considering they chose,
and the end of the day ends with everyone at the saloon taking shots of root beer. And I just want to point out that Greg seems very comfortable with a shot glass in his hand.
Well, if half of what the AMA said is true.
I don't remember that part of the AMA. I'll have to reread it. But
I don't know, man.
There were shenanigans going on.
There were shenanigans.
But I do find it funny that throughout this episode, after they've introduced the saloon as being open, you see just kids walking around with bottles of root beer, you know, almost acting as if like they're just drinking beer.
It's like
in the streets.
It's like the toy candy cigarette things.
Yeah. And then the last scene we get during the credits is this weird bandana fight between two members of Team Yellow.
Ah, yes.
The banana fight, and that's how it ends.
Yes. They are whipping each other with their bandanas.
Yep.
Like something out of the beach scene in Top Gun.
Except they're, 9 years old. Kool-Aid Polanski.
And on that note.
And so that's the end of the first episode. So far, though, who would you say is your favorite? Is it Sophia?
It would be Sophia.
Yeah.
Or Pickle Girl.
Well, Pickle Girl is without question.
I have love to like her Pickle dearly.
Girl. All hail Pickle Girl.
All hail Pickle Girl. I haven't seen the whole series all the way through, but I'm really hoping she just takes over the entire town and becomes supreme leader.
Oh. Yeah, that would be interesting. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm also Team Sophia. I like Sophia so far.
I do too.
I would like to see though if my opinions on any of the kids change now that I'm much older than when it originally came out. Because I distinctly remember who I liked and who I didn't like. And also I want to see if some awkward moments that occur later are still...
I want to see if we can find what's going on in the background.
Oh, like anything that you see? I don't know. I think
The AMA. I wanna know what those kids were up to.
we'll go over that. I want to go over the AMA after we're finished, though.
After we'll do it.
Because that way we'll be more familiar with
we'll do a comprehensive, and we'll go over everything that it covered.
Yeah.
Just to be thorough.
Oh, so for this episode we had, I think we had what, 2 gold star worth its weight in gold mentions.
We did. We are keeping a tally of how many times Jonathan says that the gold star is worth its weight in gold. Literally. 2 gold star mentions and then 1 pickle girl sighting. Yes.
Well, 2 pickle girl sightings, actually.
About 2.
Because it had her introduction of pickle girl and then her actual name reveal. But we'll just keep calling her pickle girl.
I like that.
Unless she's out there and finds this podcast and gets offended and tells us to stop calling her pickle girl. At which point, it's Layla. And Layla, we love you.
We will affectionately beg for your forgiveness, and we bow to your supreme powers.
Come on the show, Layla.
Please do.
We'll have pickles for you.
On sticks. On kebab sticks.
I just have to point out that not only...
And apparently a piece of macaroni.
Not only was Layla the one with the stick through her pickle, like a lot of the other kids seem to be eating their breakfast with like dried pasta. So do these kids not have enough utensils? Do they not give you enough utensils?
Oh god, maybe they have.
Maybe that's what Sophia was angry about. Maybe the Team Yellow didn't wash enough dishes or whatever, and so there wasn't enough utensils.
Okay,
and maybe that's what caused Sophia to be angry.
Possible.
Because, like, I think it's not DK. There's this other kid in town who wears like what are those hats called?
Cowboy hats?
Bandanas? No, it's like a
sombreros?
A hipster, not a hipster hat. Like a beatnik,
a little
sort
hat
of
with the wheel on it.
No, it's like a
beatnik.
It's kind of like a bicycle.
Beanie.
It's kind of like it's not a beanie. It's kind of like a
baseball cap.
No. Oh God, I'll point it out to you, and you'll be like, "Oh, that hat."
I mean, there's only so many types.
But he
of
wears
hats.
A hat. He always wears a hat.
Is it one of those with the soda straws?
No, it's one of those like flat hats that you sort of wear to the side. That like, whatever.
Oh wait. The French one, a fedora? No.
Not a fedora, but you know what I'm talking about.
A beret.
Now. Yeah, it's like a beret. It's like a beret.
It's a beret.
He always is wearing this hat, and he was also shown eating food with a pickle, not with a pickle,
on a stick,
with a dried stick thing.
Just stab it in there.
I don't know what the deal with that is, but it depresses me if there
aren't. Maybe they have to whittle their own utensils.
Out of the kids who have the sticks whittled it
out of like goat skull,
and the kids who have like the really thin sticks just whittled it too far. Maybe they got too distracted by Sophia's dancing. We're like, oh, oops.
Or maybe they were trying to make a shank so that they could defend themselves against freaking Greg.
Freaking Greg, or against Jared when he comes in and he's like, "There's no more pancakes. I had a dream.
Where's my sandwich?"
Starts quoting Shakespeare to them.
Okay. All right.
I think that's
the show. I think that's the show. Until next time.
Do you want to give places where they can find us online if they want to?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter at @PepperDarkly.
That's one word, right?
That's one word.
Mm-hmm. And you can find me on Twitter
at Dan_Sparse.
At Dan_Sparse. Yeah, until next time.
Until next time.
Bye. I had a total brain pause.
It's
for a
all
minute.
right. It happens to us all.
Forgot my Twitter account.
It happens to us all, Mike, more than others.